Getting men to change their destructive ways by threatening to leave them, humiliate them, or cut them off in bed, it's a tale as old as time. Melania Trump must do what dozens of buildings around the world have done and take the Trump name off. Your unhappiness is obvious. You despise his creepy little monkey fingers touching your hand. Maybe it falls to you now, Melania. You can end this reign of terror, and all you have to do is channel your inner Taylor Swift and walk out the door. Is there anyone left who can check Donald Trump? Yes, Melania.
Bill Maher made some shocking claims on the influence of Melania Trump over Donald. In his mind, she possesses the power to topple the Trump empire with a single action. Would you like to find out? But if you are a committed American, please hit the like button so our message can reach the widest possible audience. So it would appear that Bill Maher has been reviewing his classical Greek literature, comedy, and classics. Who would have thought? The idea for his scheme came from a play called Lysistrata, which is older than Trump's hairspray. Those from your high school days, right? No? Excuse me as I fill you in. The women in this ancient Greek myth finally get sick of watching their men play battle. After that, what exactly do they do? Bedroom enjoyment was snuffed out. Yes, until the men behave themselves, there will be no hanky-panky. Now, Marr is considering why not incorporate this timeless advice into our contemporary drama. He has this irrational belief that Melania might be the hidden asset we were unaware we were lacking. Imagine this, carrying only a suitcase and a severe expression, Melania tells the Donald, "Not yet, not tonight, and not any night until you knock it off with the election nonsense."
New rule, before leaving this election behind, we must all thank Donald Trump for the one good thing he did. He exposed evangelicals. But Republicans didn't get to play the Jesus card this time around because it's hard to bring up the Ten Commandments when your candidate spent his life breaking all of them. After so many elections where the candidates tried to out-Jesus each other.
Where a dozen Republican contenders, Hillary, never-Trumpers, and even Mueller fell short, Marr is placing his bets on Melania. Can anybody still hold Donald Trump accountable? He asks. Of course, Melania. It's as if he's portraying her as democracy's final hope. Pressure, oh my. The juicy part, though, is right here. Marr isn't merely recommending a brief separation. He's getting all soap opera with it. Melania Trump doesn't merely depart from Trump. He imagines a situation in which she departs from him for another man. Not any old man either. One Mexican guy. What kind of Twitter storm would that cause?
It's not anti-feminist to say that in addition to doing everything men can do intellectually, women also have another power. The power of the ultimatum. In the ancient Greek play Lysistrata, women end a war by denying to their men. It was the original Bush doctrine. President Hellboy has proved to be impervious to facts, reason, shame, and the law. But maybe if you left him for another man, especially if that man was Mexican.
The whole idea makes Marr salivate. He makes a joke about how his ex-wife would drive him crazy if he was constantly covered by the media over the Trump divorce. Process by which Melania shed 200 pounds. That hurts. It will make an impression greater than Trump's ego. However, that's not all. Melania Oscar de la Hoya is a true zinger from Marr. The most extraordinary sexual experience of my life. What we have here is an example of a strike below the belt. Plan is to hit Trump with a new level of ego lashing that he has never experienced. According to Marr, Trump is capable of handling almost everything except for a public dumping. It's the antidote to the Superman of egotism. Even without Melania, it's clear that a lot is being said. Compared to Trump's tax filings, she is hardly noticeable. Marr says, the fact that she doesn't seem to be even that excited about supporting his candidacy. If his own wife can't even support him in a meaningful way, why should I? That's a reasonable inquiry. How is Camp Trump doing if the woman who vowed to be there for him through thick and thin and through all those indictments is conspicuously absent?
Toss his boxy clown suits on the front lawn. Just tell him, I'm leaving you and I'm taking our child. He would be stunned. We have a child? Now, I know I'm probably dreaming and Melania isn't going to do any of this, but what if she had someone to do it with? Divorce is always easier in pairs. What if you had a buddy, Melania? Mrs. Rupert Murdoch, Jerry Hall. And you two have a lot in common. Your husbands are ruining the world.
Bill Maher appears to have taken out his magnification glasses and is focusing on the Trump marriage, folks. You believe there were problems in your relationship. There are more red flags on this one than in a Soviet march. First things first, the obvious, or more accurately, the unacknowledged elephant in the room. Melania has been disguising herself in a way that would enrage Houdini. Trump has been getting friendly with Justice Kavanaugh while his wife has been missing. Discuss the importance of being there for your man, preferably from afar and in a different nation. The supportive spouse performance is not convincing to Marr. Melania's absence, he thinks, says a lot.
Trump hears some demonstrously false nonsense from some crank guest on Fox and tweets it out as fact. They're on this insane feedback loop. They're like that couple that keeps giving each other herpes. So, girls, you gotta step up. We have tried everything, but the more we resist these two menaces, the stronger they get. They're like the Night King in Game of Thrones.
Silence seems to be her way of saying, "You're on your own, buddy." Who cares if your own wife doesn't bother to show up when you're in trouble? The juicy part, though, is right here. It has occurred to Marr that Melania might be hatching a grand scheme to flee. As a joke, he says, "Do felony convictions invalidate a marriage?" in reference to her Google search. That is the definition of relationship goals, isn't it? Seeking for legal ways to leave your husband is the epitome of true love.
Your unhappiness is obvious. You despise his creepy little monkey fingers touching your hand. So kick him to the curb. Slap away that hand for good. No more porn stars. No more stealing your makeup.
Also, we must not overlook Marr's biting remark of Melania shoving Trump aside. According to him, she ought to slap away that hand for good. That hurts. That must hurt worse than an unhealthy spray tan. However, that's not all. Marr has this elaborate plot in his head where Melania quits Trump for another man rather than just leaving him. Not any dude, but a man from Mexico. What a perfect storm of tweets that would cause. That would put Trump's thumbs to work. Marr is drooling at the prospect of writing about Melania's weight loss and the best sex experience of her life. As far as I'm concerned, that's the only belt Trump has ever tightened, and it certainly hits close to home. The worst part, according to Marr, is that this might be Trump's Achilles' heel. Except for a public dumping, he thinks Trump can handle it all. It's as bad as any nightmare you might have while trying to run a spray tan, deflate your ego, and melt Twitter. Folks, the Trump love boat isn't looking good, to say the least. Trump's tax returns are more widely known than Melania. She has been conspicuously absent, leading others to question whether a plausible cardboard cutout has taken her place. Marr states the obvious: no one will stand by you if your own wife isn't even going to pretend to be your supporter. Don't look at me, I didn't vote for him. Melania's silence is like a cry from the rooftops.
Cavemen like Trump and Murdoch can't handle one thing: an ego lashing. Rupert has been married 4 times, Trump 3. Some guys just can't be alone. It's like how some guys get used to being in prison. They can't make it on the outside. When you're Donald Trump, wives don't leave you, you leave them. He would fall apart if she ever said, "Donald, there's nothing keeping me here. I can't love what you have become, and I found where you hid my passport."
If we're talking about elusive qualities, how about Republican consistency? It's as if there were an ocean of red MAGA hats and you had to find Waldo. This GOP flip-flop festival has been under Bill Maher's scrutiny, and it's a real nasty. Recall that the Republican Party was formerly centered around law and order. Concerning criminal activity, they were more resilient than a $2 steak. But right now, their stance is more lenient than Trump's stomach. The receipts are with Marr, everyone. These GOP heavy hitters are pulling more tricks than a pretzel factory, he says. Listen up, Republicans, according to Marr, are head bobbling along when statements like, "No one is above the law in this country," are made during Hunter Biden's trial. But suddenly it hits them. Oh my, that's true for Trump as well. Suddenly they're reversing course with the speed of a unicycle clown, and things start to go crazy from here. You will be confused after looking at the figures that Marr has retrieved. A recent survey found that 77% of Republicans held the view that it was extremely unacceptable for a convicted felon to hold the office of president. Understandable, isn't it? Be prepared, though, because 58% of people are now stating, "Hey, it's fine." When did things change? Did someone throw a MAGA hat at them? Republicans seem to be engaging in a game of rules for thee, but not for me style behavior. If it were a Democrat in hot water, Marr says, they would react differently. Imagine it for a sec. They would be so outraged that they would be clamoring for punishment before you could say, "Lock her up." But when Trump is involved, little insect. Melania Trump at a campaign rally is noisier than this. Marr is also not letting Melania off the hook when it comes to the Trump family circus. He makes fun of the fact that she's likely searching, "Do felony convictions invalidate a presidency?" on Google at a rate that Trump can Twitter witch hunt. Her performance is reminiscent of her own take on Escape from Mar-a-Lago. The catch, though, is this. According to Marr, Trump and his supporters believe he is immune to punishment because of this entire disaster. They treat him like he has a get-out-of-jail-free card, only his hair is awful and orange. They are ignoring Trump's legal issues while they are furiously criticizing Hunter Biden and every Democrat who has ever jaywalked. They seem to be completely oblivious if MAGA caps are to be believed. There are no holds barred by Marr. This is about more than simply Trump. Now, he is making it obvious. The plot revolves around an entire faction that views the law as more of a recommendation than a regulation. It's as if the Constitution is being handled as if it were the pirate code. More what you'd call guidelines than actual rules. Everyone has witnessed the Trump family drama. Now let's compare it to the Bidens. A jalapeno margarita from Mar-a-Lago wouldn't be able to describe the fieriness of Bill Maher's ideas. We will begin with the Trump family. It's safe to say that our family isn't very practical. My darling daddy is in more legal hot water than a shopaholic with a stolen credit card, and his wife is nowhere to be found. Maya, like she has an adverse reaction to political gatherings and courtrooms. The Bidens are ours now. Just toss the coin. Yes, they do have some issues of their own, but Marr is presenting an alternate view. His expression is one of awe as he gazes upon Joe Biden, as if he were a superhero father. Marr has this irrational belief that Joe Biden isn't a terrible parent because of Hunter Biden's problems. He's expressing, hey, sometimes kids go off the rails and it's not always mom and dad's fault. As if to commend Joe for not publicly discrediting Hunter, he practically pats him on the back. However, the juicy part is about to happen. Hunter is being likened by Marr to previous problem children in politics, such as Roger Clinton and Billy Carter.
Trump has nothing in common with Jesus, who was from the Middle East. Trump wouldn't even let him in the country. Jesus healed the blind. Trump mocks the handicapped. Jesus turned the other cheek. Trump grabs your Trump just whines. The Bible says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. Trump says, fine, what about my daughter?
Every family's got a black sheep, even in the White House, he essentially asserts, as if he were attempting to normalize Hunter's problems and make them appear less shocking. As for Joe Biden, Marr compliments him on his willingness to let the legal system handle his son's case. See, he seems to be stating, a president should act like this. Let the cards fall where they may. He portrays Joe as an exemplar of honesty. Go back to the Trumps for a second. Marr's being really forthright here. It's like bring your daughter to work day at the White House every day, he says, highlighting how Donald has his entire family on the payroll. Everyone is in on it, including Ivanka and Jared. Marr is getting her revenge on Trump by drawing parallels to his family. He exclaims, see the change. While one family handles their private matters in a discreet manner, the other is consumed by drama and nepotism, as if he were preparing a reality show pitting Keeping Up with the Bidens against the Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago. What Marr is really doing is drawing parallels between ideals and families. He's making the point that these families' problem-solving styles reveal a lot about their potential national leadership. Who do you want to be in charge, he seems to be asking. Which family does the circling or the one that has to face the music? In Marr's universe, the Bidens appear more like the Brady Bunch when contrasted with the Trumps. His portrayal of Joe is that of a calm, ethical man who can deal with domestic strife in a measured way.
This one had no talk from either candidate about how they start their morning with scripture. The Republican wasn't reaching out to his prayer warriors. And best of all, we were spared the sight of having to watch Hillary Clinton try and clap on the beat with a black church choir,
preventing it from escalating into a national catastrophe. The Trumps, meanwhile, seem to be in an endless soap drama. And with that, I leave you. Biden's and Trump's in Marr's family conflict. Comparing apples with extremely different oranges is the best way to put it. Who becomes victorious? Whether you like your family drama with a hint of rehabilitation or indictments is up to you. Donald Trump running a country is like asking a dog to cook a 5-course meal. It's chaotic, messy, and you just end up with a lot of barking and nothing edible. Remember his idea of injecting disinfectant to fight COVID-19? That's not a solution. That's a recipe for disaster. His tax cuts were like giving a billionaire a discount on their yacht while the rest of us can't afford a rubber ducky. Trump's foreign policy was as unpredictable as a cat on a hot tin roof. One minute he's best friends with dictators, the next he's in a Twitter war with our allies. It's like watching reality TV, except it's our country at stake. And let's not forget his environmental policies, rolling back regulations faster than a car without brakes.
We are owed an explanation from the values voters as to how they could line up behind Trump. But when asked, couldn't name a single passage. Even Sarah Palin said, oh, for fuck's sake, it's not a newspaper. He also once accepted Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Tailor.
It's like handing a pyromaniac a lighter in a fireworks factory. Trump's response to the pandemic was so slow, you'd think he was trying to win a race by running backward. His solution to economic inequality? Throw money at the rich and hope it trickles down. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left wondering if we should invest in lottery tickets just to keep up. In the end, Trump's presidency was like a bad sitcom full of drama, plot holes, and a lot of people people hoping it gets canceled. It's time for a new script, one with less chaos and more competence. In this crucial moment for our country, it's important to recognize the value of experienced and competent leadership. Joe Biden has demonstrated a long history of dedicated public service and a deep understanding of both domestic and international issues. His tenure as vice president under Barack Obama showcased his ability to navigate complex political landscapes and his commitment to the well-being of all Americans. Biden's policies focus on unity, economic stability, healthcare access, and environmental protection, all of which are critical for a prosperous and sustainable future. On the other hand, Donald Trump's presidency has been marked by numerous controversies and a lack of coherent strategy. His approach to governance often appears haphazard, driven more by personal interests and whims than by a clear vision for the country. Trump's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, for instance, has been widely criticized for its lack of timely response and coordination.
In the primaries, evangelicals had a whole bouquet of religious nuts to choose from. Mike Huckabee. He's the devil. What part of pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name, don't you understand? Santorum, Scott Walker, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson. Ben Carson, who doesn't just walk with Jesus, they shower together.
Leading to unnecessary loss of lives and prolonged economic hardship. His divisive rhetoric has also exacerbated social tensions, making it harder for Americans to come together during challenging times. Biden's commitment to science and reason is evident in his approach to policymaking. He understands the importance of listening to experts and relying on data to make informed decisions. This contrasts sharply with Trump's frequent disregard for scientific consensus and expert advice, which has often resulted in policies that are not only ineffective but also harmful.
White evangelicals go for Trump over Hillary 75-14, but only 19% of Utah Mormons. With one exception, and I never thought I would hear myself say this, but let's hear it for the Mormons, because apparently the Mormons believe you shouldn't vote for a lying, infantile scumbag just because he's on your team.
For instance, Trump's stance on climate change and environmental regulations has been detrimental to efforts aimed at combating global warming and protecting natural resources. The role of comedians like Bill Maher in the political landscape should not be underestimated. By using humor and satire, Maher and others highlight the absurdities and failings of those in power, making it easier for the public to grasp complex issues. Their work serves as a form of checks and balances, holding leaders accountable and encouraging critical thinking among citizens. Maher's critiques of Trump, for example, have exposed inconsistencies and ethical breaches in the administration, prompting viewers to question and scrutinize government actions more closely. Voting for Biden is a vote for stability and competence. His comprehensive plans to address healthcare, economic inequality, and environmental challenges demonstrate a clear vision for the future. Biden's healthcare proposal aims to expand access to affordable care, ensuring that all Americans can receive the medical attention they need without financial burden. His economic policies focus on creating jobs, raising the minimum wage, and supporting small businesses, which are the backbone of the American economy. In contrast, Trump's policies often favor the wealthy and large corporations, leaving many ordinary Americans struggling to make ends meet. His tax cuts, for instance, have disproportionately benefited the richest individuals and entities, widening the gap between the wealthy and the poor. Furthermore, Trump's erratic trade policies have hurt American farmers and manufacturers, creating uncertainty and instability in the markets. Biden's foreign policy experience is another significant advantage. Having served as chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he has a deep understanding of international relations and diplomacy. Biden advocates for rebuilding alliances and restoring America's leadership on the global stage. In contrast, Trump's foreign policy has been characterized by unpredictability and alienation of key allies, weakening America's influence and standing in the world. The integrity and empathy that Biden brings to the table are crucial for healing a divided nation. He has consistently shown a willingness to listen and engage with people from all walks of life, understanding their struggles and aspirations. This contrasts with Trump's often dismissive and confrontational style, which has deepened divisions and fostered a toxic political climate. Comedians like Bill Maher play a vital role in democracy by using their platforms to shed light on important issues and encourage public discourse. Maher's incisive commentary and willingness to tackle controversial topics contribute to a more informed and engaged electorate.
They believe underwear has magic powers, and you get your own planet when you die, and they let Donny Osmond claim he's a little bit rock and roll. But ask one if Trump would make a good president, and they're like, do I look like I was born yesterday?
By exposing the flaws and hypocrisies of politicians, Maher helps ensure that leaders remain accountable to the people they serve. Choosing to vote for Joe Biden is a decision to prioritize experience, empathy, and a commitment to the common good. Biden's comprehensive policies, respect for science and expertise, and dedication to unity make him the candidate best equipped to lead the country forward. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's presidency has been marred by incompetence, divisiveness, and a failure to address critical issues effectively. The contributions of comedians like Bill Maher in highlighting these shortcomings are invaluable, as they help foster a more informed and critical electorate. By voting for Biden, we can ensure a brighter, more inclusive future for all Americans.